Around the world today, people are hungry. People are homeless. People are cold. People are trafficked. People are exploited. Around the world today, there is brokenness everywhere that we see. And people are dying around the world without any knowledge that the sin that they are trying to cover has been died for already. And they can be forgiven of their sin if they hear and trust of Jesus Christ. And what this means is that the train of their lives is chugging towards hell. That all of those minutes and moments of life when they look at the clock to say, hey, I can't wait for this and I can't wait for this, and they get older and older and older, they're moving closer to destruction. You know, there's 100,000 people within a 20-minute drive of where you're sitting right now who do not know the Lord, and they have no affiliation whatsoever with a church. And estimates say that there's another 150,000 people that are going to move within a 20-minute drive of where you're sitting right now in the next 10 years. And many of them do not know Christ. When we looked at Psalm 90, and he says, look, if we could simply see the impact of our sin upon a just God, and if we could see the brevity of life and the length of eternity, we would recognize the importance of our days. And here's the deal. For those who are apart from Christ, who've never read Psalm 90, it's the people of God who are supposed to feel the weight on their behalf when they can't because they don't know. The people around the world today that literally try to shove themselves onto trains in order to get from one place to the next, they don't know that they can be forgiven. All of this brokenness that is taking place around the world, what Paul is saying is that this should affect the way that we live. And so let me encourage you to consider our calling as we create margins. See, if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Savior, let me just say that Jesus is the hope, not a hope. He is the hope, the only hope for your life, the only hope for the exploited. He's the only hope in the world to stop trafficking. He's the only hope. He's the only hope for people without a coat and people without food. It's Jesus Christ working through people. And you have a sin problem before him. And if there's a sin problem that's not been dealt with, it means that there's a separation between you and the greatest joy of your life. And so he came in order to rescue you by sending his son, Jesus, who lived and he died and he rose again. Would you trust him today? And for those of us in the room who have, don't you understand that we have a calling, an actual calling upon us, that we're being called to follow a man, a king, a savior, who didn't stay in the comforts, but came to the broken fields. He didn't sit on his couch and heckle Fox News and tell people, just go get a job. He came to the earth, to the field, in order to make you whole. And me. This is who we're following. And he tells us in Ephesians chapter 5, he says, be imitators of God. That's our calling as beloved children. That means if you've known Jesus Christ as your Savior, you have been adopted as a son or daughter into his family, and therefore now you have a calling to represent our Father. How do we imitate him? What does he say? Walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us.